Okay, welcome. This is Lagos Talks 91.3. It is 4:34. Apologies for the late commencement of the program. It is The Office and is proudly brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria and Lagos Talks 91.3. It's a Thursday, the 25th of April 2024, and as usual, we get to bring in experts in human resource management to come enlighten us on a few important aspects of the work, the job, and workplace culture generally. Today's topic is quite interesting. I hinted that it was going to border around emotional intelligence, but our guest definitely is on standby to do just enough justice to our topic. And she is the founder of Career Life Nigeria. She's the head people for a leading tech startup and the author of the All-Inclusive Career Handbook. She is a certified career coach and a thought leader who has written several articles that have helped career professionals. She is passionate about leadership, culture shaping, performance management, talent retention, and development. Our social initiative, Career Life Foundation, solving UN SDG Goals 8, aimed at reducing unemployment by, helping graduates and professionals become employable, which is very key, and also accelerate their career growth. With various awards won both locally and internationally, her vision is to help millions of youths achieve measurable success in their career. She's the convener of the Employability Fitness Program, an initiative aimed at helping young graduates overcome interview phobia, which is a big problem in Nigeria and even abroad, and also, of course, barriers in the recruitment process through mentoring. So mentorship is a forte, and it's a pleasure to have her join us. She is none other than Yewande Jinadu, ACIPM, the founder, Career Life Nigeria. Yewande, welcome. Good to have you join us this evening on The Office.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, fantastic. I hope the week has been good for you.
Yes, interesting.
All right. Okay, because of our time, we have very limited time. So let's kickstart the topic this evening. And the topic is on emotional intelligence. It's actually leading with emotional intelligence in the workplace. So the topic, emotional intelligence, is quite a vague one and is quite talked about. But let's trickle things down to the workplace and how this is important in terms of leadership. So in very simple terms, how does emotional intelligence contribute to effective leadership in the workplace? I would love to hear your personal experiences as a professional as well on the job over the years. How do you think this concept is able to affect positively leadership in the workplace?
Okay, so I learned about emotional intelligence in my first place when I started my career in HR. And it's one of the most underrated skills that people will ever talk about. So what is emotional intelligence? Is the ability to understand your emotions and manage your emotions. And so if you look at leadership involves managing people, right? And so emotional intelligence helps you to be more self-aware. You understand yourself, you understand your strengths, you understand your triggers, right? And you're not transferring your emotions to people, and you're meant to lead them. Emotional intelligence also helps you to lead with empathy, not coming from a place of, I know it all, but how are you feeling, right? What's your own situation and how can I get the best out of you by wearing your own shoes? There's this thing that says, treat people how you want to be treated, but like, it's not about how you want to be treated, but how they want to be treated. So it helps with self-awareness, empathy, and even helps you with communication, right? Rather than just being passive aggressive or just behaving anyhow because you probably learned it from your bosses and it worked for them and they didn't, terminate the appointment, and you feel like that is how you should behave. So it's very beneficial in the everyday workplace.
So would you say you have that strong conviction that emotional intelligence actually works in the workplace? Have you seen examples of this working in the workplace? If you have, give us a lowdown, maybe in one or two examples of you witnessing, this pan out in the workplace and how it has affected productivity positively.
Yeah, so I learned it from my first boss, right? So coming in as an HR, no experience, I saw someone who, unlike typical workplaces where they feel like they're doing you a favor, you're like their slave, master-slave relationship. I saw someone who understood herself and was able to create a supportive and a healthy work environment. Despite the fact that I wasn't really paid really well, I was happy to go to work because I was working with somebody that could manage situation, not that you collect the pressure from the top and feel it's okay to transfer it to the team members. So yes, I've seen it work. It helps also to it empowered me as an individual, and it showed me how to lead. I've also worked with people that lacked emotional intelligence, and I would see how people would resign and the churn was high so I know how to lead and how not to lead. And if you want to lead people, retain them, and not be that toxic person, then you should definitely toe that line.
So, I mean, you've seen it happen, you've witnessed this, you've seen the two sides of the coin and how it's beneficial to organizations. So what would you say are the strategies that leaders could employ to develop or enhance their emotional intelligence skills? Do you think it's something that is innate? People are born with it? Can they learn it? To what extent can they learn it if this is the case?
Okay, so yeah, it can be learned. Maybe some people are lucky to like be born with it, but you can learn it through coaching, through training and development as well. So for me, I read a book, right? And that book really changed me. So that was my journey. Coaching, training as well, sometimes knowing how to be self-aware, learning strategies, how you can actually, manage your emotions and be assertive. Those are some of the ways that you can actually, get better if you're not naturally born with it. Yeah.
Interesting. You're listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks, and we're speaking with an expert. And I love the topic this evening because it's something I think we need to talk about more often than not, looking at how much gap we've got to fill, especially in the workspace. This is Lagos Talks 91.3. The office is proudly brought to you by CIPM, that is the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. And Lagos Talks 91.3, we are talking about leading with emotional intelligence in the workplace. Have you worked with someone who has been, emotionally maybe lame or dry? Have you worked with someone who has connected with you emotionally on a different level and that has in a way affected the way you worked? You could share your experiences quickly using the WhatsApp channel 0809 234 5913 0809 234 5913. So Yewande, in what way does leading with emotional intelligence contribute to, say, fostering a positive work environment and, employee well-being generally? How does this directly, can we even measure the level of affectability? In what way does it lead to, contributing to fostering the relationship between workers and employers?
So firstly, I'll say it helps to create like safety, psychological safety, right? There's some places where now I'm not saying like say it in a bad way, but like say how you really feel and not be judged and not that someone will come at you and terminate you, right? So if you're leading with emotional intelligence, people feel safe. People feel safe to work with you. People can grow with you because they know that you're looking out for them and you're you're actively listening to them and not to like punish them, right? It also fosters a culture of trust and respect. You know, a lot of times we talk about you need to be assertive, you listen and you are leading with empathy. It's not just about yourself, and you can throw tantrums like kids will do at any time T, and there'll be no consequences. So there's that culture of trust. You're not watching your back for who is going to snitch on you because you said something or you did something, right? It also encourages work-life balance. People are currently like suffering because they feel that if my boss stands up, I need to stand up. And even if I'm dying, I need to come to. Emotional intelligence can promote and, encourage a positive workplace.
Okay, so I'm trying to remember a situation someone was sharing with me just a while ago, and it gets me thinking when it comes to emotional intelligence, because it's a topic that we talk about more often than not in this day and age, perhaps compared to years ago, say 10, 15, 20 years ago. I don't think this topic was a thing in workspaces. Right now, it's becoming a recurring decimal. People are so do you think the proficiency in emotional intelligence is somewhat tied to the generation that an individual belongs to? So, for example, you have bosses who are mostly baby boomers, right? Or you have bosses you have some Gen Z bosses now. You have some millennials who are like middle children in the grand scheme of things, right? So they have a bit of this and that. So would you say that there's some sort of connexus or connection, level of tendency to be intelligent in terms of your emotions? And do you think that is tied to the generation that one might belong to?
Yes and no,
Okay.
because it's naturally tied to your own upbringing. A lot of us didn't have emotionally intelligent parents. Let's tell ourselves the truth. You could burst out and there were no consequences because they didn't see better, they didn't know better. You wouldn't blame them. You can't model yourself to be something that you have not seen work. Sometimes they tie emotional intelligence to being dumb or to being dull, that people will ride over you. If you're not bullying people, if you're not insulting people, people will not work. That's the mentality they have, that bully is the culture, right? So yes, the previous generation did not know better, but I would say no, because even our own generation, I'm a millennial, and some Gen Zs also, they lack emotional intelligence regardless of their generation as well. I think it's tied to the people, what you're seeing. What will make you change is, have you seen it work? Have you seen it more effective? When they say gentle parenting and whatever, and even in the workplace, right? Have you seen people who lead that way? Even if you've not seen people lead that way, have you suffered from it and chosen to intentionally change the narrative and learn how to also control your emotions, be self-aware, lead with empathy, be assertive, and all of those things? So yes and no. I think now people are talking about it, so it's good, and people are learning to change and see a better way to like lead.
I mean, if you ask me, I would say it's also being used as PR tool, because if you're an organization and you maybe post about emotional intelligence and all of that, it just puts you in a good light, maybe on social media, or in terms of shaping your public perception. So there's also brand management that I know about, and a lot of companies are trying to key into that wave of trying to shape perceptions and all of that. So you've mentioned the upbringing being pivotal in the propensity of someone being emotionally intelligent. So how much of a two-way street is this? Now, you mentioned someone has been used to, or someone from upbringing thinks that he has to be hard on people or lash out at people or insult people. You perhaps would agree that some people feel like they have to be lashed out on for them to, sit up. So do you think it's a two-way street? This boss is so soft. Maybe he's not serious about the job. Let me just chill until he lashes out before I do anything. I don't think he's really serious about what he asked me to do. Do you think that's a possible scenario that could pan out in workspaces?
No, emotional intelligence is not for the other person, right? And so maybe the way I define emotional intelligence seems more like lashing, right? It's for you. Emotional intelligence helps you to manage. You just imagine if you cannot control your eating. It's not about the restaurants or the people that are selling the food. It's about how it affects your health. right? So emotional intelligence also affects your leadership capability and capacity, right? So first thing, emotional intelligence is self-awareness. That's the basic barest minimum. If you're not self-aware, guess what? You would lose out on getting better, right? If you're not self-aware, you don't know your strength, your weakness, and the possibilities of things you can do or cannot do. Another thing, right? Emotional intelligence also, where there's aggression and passive aggression, self-awareness helps you to know that at this point in time, I need to be assertive so that I'm not keeping things in mind and it to come out as passive aggression, right? Emotional intelligence helps to manage you and not that person. So even if people decide to be people, right? Not everybody has own training. But even if somebody decides to be stupid or want to be this thing, it's not going to affect me. I choose to respond positively. I choose to manage my own emotions so that I'm not like a roaring lion that, needs to be put up on a leash, right? So it's not about if someone needs to be chased. Someone can decide not to do their job on time. It does not mean that approach you want to go through by threatening that person will be the solution. It might just be like taking Panadol, but meanwhile you actually have malaria and there are other things you need to do about it.
Okay, so let's talk about the workplace culture. How do you think organizations in 2024 can promote a culture that values or say encourages emotional intelligence amongst even the leaders and even just team members like you and I just highlighted? How do you think offices, organizations can, do stuff to promote this sort of culture?
First thing is the person at the top,
Okay.
the MD, the CEO needs to start by embodying it. You cannot pass down to people something you do not carry because guess what? They may go for training, they may go for coaching, but at the end, they are seeing you not doing the same. It's like a parent that tells you, do what I do, don't do what I say, don't do what I do. Firstly, so if you lack it as a leader, get trained, read books, and more importantly, get coach. Coaching helps you to transform you from the inside rather than from externally, because maybe you might be going through some trauma in the childhood and maybe in school for therapy. That's the first thing. For the entire organization, right? In promoting that, so if the top members, the senior management team members are showing it, naturally these people will follow. But if these people don't follow, you can also, take up, pay for training programs, right? Or pay for individual coaching or team coaching or group coaching, right? You can also ensure as an organization you are hiring people who are emotionally intelligent. You're not hiring people because they are good with numbers and they're technically sound, but they are bullies. What you encourage is what will lead. As a leader, you have a team member or team lead that is very good numerically, is selling, but is a bully. You are, no matter how much you pay for training, you are encouraging those things, right? Ensure that you're tying reward and performance evaluation to emotional intelligence. How are you ensuring that the leaders are seeing it as part of their responsibilities, right? So they are praised not just by the money they are bringing in, but how well they are leading with empathy and managing their own emotions, right? And that way, if you're promoting those things through performance evaluations, recognition and reward, if that applies to you, providing resources that these people can actually leverage on and leading by example, you're on that way to achieving that.
Okay, you're listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks. Our time is really fast spent, but I'm glad that we are almost at the bus stop this evening. I have been speaking with Yewande Jinadu on the office this evening, and we have been speaking about leading with emotional intelligence in the workplace. So, one quick question before we wrap things up. So we've spoken about the how important it is, and you said it's more of a subjective thing. Has to start with you as a person. It's more about you and all of that. So, but have you seen cases where um there's been some sort of difficulty in, being emotionally intelligent at the same time, ensuring that people are not deviating from their core job? There's this perception that if you are emotionally intelligent, you might be compromising on, straightening people up or discipline in the workplace, people doing their job actually. Yes, you're leading with empathy. At the same time, I don't know, are you going to be compromising on people being productive and being disciplined at their job?
You know, one key thing in emotional intelligence is being assertive.
Okay.
Being assertive, yeah, you can't say you're emotionally intelligent and you're not assertive. Now, rather than being aggressive, assertiveness is the right way. So yelling at you, no, I would tell you what I want you to do. I would ensure that I put the processes in place, I'm documenting it, and you would do it without me raising my voice, without me threatening or insulting you, but I will make my opinions heard. So emotional intelligence does not mean that you will be stupid, right? Assertiveness is the answer to that question. And it's part of, you need to be assertive so that you will not be aggressive. You need to be assertive so you will not be passive aggressive.
Okay. I think that answers it quite well. Yewande, thank you so much for joining us this evening on The Office. How has your journey been so far in the business of HR in Nigeria? How was COVID for you? I know that was a very tough period. A lot of you and your colleagues had to shape things up and adjust here and there and try to do like series of meetings with the guys at the helm. How's the journey been so far? And how long have you been doing human resource management?
So HR more 8 years. How has it been? It's not been easy. If I would be a big liar to come and say, "Oh yeah, I love HR every day,"
Well,
it's a roller
don't you
coaster.
love HR? You
But
have
I
to
love
love
what
it.
I do.
8 years it
I love
means
what I do.
there's a marriage there somewhere.
I love what I do, but I would say it's
Yeah.
it's a roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster so far. And I think for me, having like, a community, I think one of the best part of being in HR is the community that we have, right? It would always be up and down, sometimes more downs than ups, but like, once you come together, you get over it. So it's not been perfect, but I love what I do genuinely.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna tell someone, you're young and listening right now, who is perhaps studying maybe sociology or psychology or a management course, what would you advise such a person who wants to be an HR expert in the future?
Don't come to HR because you like people. I'll tell you the facts. Don't say I love people, I love managing people. Have you married people will show you shaggy. But like come to HR because you genuinely care about making a difference. Come to HR if you genuinely care about, adding value to people. Not that you love people, because those people will stab you at the back. But like HR helps you to add value and make a difference. And it gives you a sense of fulfillment if you're working with the right set of people. I need to put that caveat because some people are frustrated because the people they work with are not, easy to work with. But yeah, it won't be easy, but you will be fine.
Okay. I think there's a thin line between HR professionals and politicians, but that's a discussion for another day. But thank you very much, Yewande, for being our guest this evening. It's been a pleasure. Within the short time that we had, we were able to touch on the key questions that we had prepped up for you. We hope that at a sooner time in the future, we will have this opportunity again to converse with you.
Thank you for having me also.
All right. Thank you very much. You're listening to 91.3. The Office is proudly brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM, and Lagos Talks 91.3. My name is Kolawole Falodun. Same time next week, Thursday. Up next, it's Critical Thinking on where the conversation never stops. Okay, thank you very much. We're off air now.
Okay then. I can log out, right? Thank you very
Yeah,
much
yeah.
as well.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Stuff. How's it going?
To spice up your experience on your drive from work. From business to politics to comedy to sports.
Your mic is mute.
Kolawole, the conversation never stops on Lagos Talks 91.3. Don't forget to join Kolawole every weekday from 4 to 9 p.m. on the live drive and join the
Not sure you can hear me.
on Lagos Talks 91.3.
Okay.
It's Lagos Talks 1.3.
You're listening to Kolawole on the Live Drive.
At the